Hey, hello, hey. I hope you are doing super well. I am currently in a room that is quite warm. We're gonna have a 94-degree day this week. Crazy. That said, the purpose of this video is to try to capture some memories I have of autumn and Halloween and general October festivities in a small town where I grew up. I grew up in quite a small town in the Midwest. Small by my estimation. I think when we moved there, they had just reached 10,000 people, and that was a big deal. I know for others that may seem big, actually. I had a friend who lived a town over, and her town didn't have a single stoplight, for example. So, to my mind, it was small. I have a few notes over here on my computer that I may reference just for topic generation. But before we get started, I wanted to show you the pumpkins I bought this year. I'm going to get a few bigger pumpkins to carve, but as I said, it's still a little hot here, unfortunately, so I don't think it would be wise to carve the pumpkins now because they might, sag and get all grody a little quicker than we want. I did go ahead and buy a few small pumpkins for my desk. I love these small pumpkins so much. So here's this little white one. I was actually showing these to an Argentine friend of mine, and last year I had shown him similar pumpkins. I buy pumpkins like this every year for my desk. And when I pulled these out again on FaceTime, I showed him, and he's like, oh yeah, the same ones from last year. And I was like, no. He's like, but they're your Halloween decorations. And I was like, no, they're like real pumpkins. I don't think these ones are good to eat, but you could technically eat them. And he was very surprised. So I got this little white one. I think it is so cute with this curly little stem here. I love it. Then I got an orange one. We like variety, I think it's quite cute. This is how I proved to him that they were real. This one has a divot or two that I had to point out and be like, they are real gourds. They are real gourds. I swear. I think it's so cute. And the color looks really nice with my background, my blue background, I think. The orange and the blue. So there's that. And finally, we have a tiger stripe pumpkin, which is white with these orange stripes. And all of these were on the receipt in my Trader Joe's video last week. So, there are my pumpkins for this year. They live on my desk. Alright, so getting into it, like I said, I lived in a small town and we had a kind of Halloween festival. Given that we lived in the Midwest, that this town was in the Midwest, there was lots to do with crops and different festivals for different crops in our town and also the surrounding towns. Whatever the town was known for, crop-wise, they would have have a festival for that crop whenever it was harvested. So lots of farming festivals, things like that. So it wasn't very weird at all that we had this kind of Halloween festival. If you're having trouble picturing this town, it was basically like Stars Hollow from Gilmore Girls. I had a friend who raised animals behind our high school to show them in fairs, like agricultural fairs. I had lots of friends who lived on proper working farms. And actually, just down the road from my house, like probably a quarter mile, there was a really big corn maze. So I just lived surrounded by farms and cornfields, soybean fields, things like that. So for this Halloween festival, there were a lot of different activities going on, and everything would happen in our small downtown. And the air would be nice and crisp, and you would have like a light jacket on and jeans, or a nice sweatshirt, something like that. And our downtown was quite cute. When I was in high school, every club and grade and stuff, all these different organizations within the high school would choose representatives to be their homecoming king and queen nominations. And each pair of representatives would, well, first the club would be assigned a window, one of the shop windows downtown, and he would decorate it for homecoming. I guess this is before Halloween, but this will give you an idea of downtown. You would decorate the window according to the homecoming theme, and then your homecoming king and queen would drive a little golf cart down the downtown street in this little parade of golf carts that also had been decorated according to the theme. And everyone in the high school would watch, and it was a fun little thing. And I think you ended up at the football field, and that's where the second round of nominations were determined. So everyone nominated a pair, but then I don't know, we voted again, and then there was like a top 5 or something like that, and then you would vote again, and at the homecoming game the king and queen would be revealed. Anyway, that's just to say the businesses downtown participated a lot in our high school, in our town, the school district. It was like everyone's mom worked in the school district, everyone's dad worked in the school district or nearby. That's truly what it felt like. And I have a few friends who still live in the same town. I have one friend who lives in the same town and works in the school district where her mom worked. I think her aunt as well. It's that kind of vibe. It's wonderful. So for this Halloween festival, a lot of the activities are downtown, and you're kind of walking around, and inevitably you get wrapped up in a lot of small talk, but it's kind of relaxing because everyone is in such a good mood, that you just have a little chit chat and you go on your way. You can walk to this coffee store downtown and get any kind of coffee drink you want, or a cider, a sandwich, a very cheap bagel with cream cheese. My town's parking meters still take pennies, for example, and the bagels at this coffee place, at least when I was there, when I was still living there, they probably ran like, I think a bagel with nothing on it when I was in high school was 25 cents on Tuesday. It was a special day. And during the rest of the week, maybe it was 50 cents or $1. And then to get it with cream cheese, I forget what the price was on Tuesday, but with cream cheese on a normal day, I think was still like $1.50, max $2.50. It was like no money So even as high schoolers, you could afford it, which was great. And we would often eat there in the morning before school. Maybe like once a week, you would go with your friends and sit and talk and then go to school. And it was really cheap. It was great. So that's kind of the vibe. There'll be like everyone walking around with coffee, cider. There's all these old houses and all the leaves have fallen and are dotting the yards and crunching under your feet. And they're just really good sidewalks. That sounds lame, but they're really good sidewalks. And on a particular day, there's a parade. And on this day, there will also be stands on the sidewalk with, like, selling chili, selling baked potatoes, stuff like that. Again, for very good prices. Selling Frito pies. It's like, I don't think I could eat one now, but when I was a kid, I would. It's like you open up a bag of Fritos and just spoon some chili in there, and then you eat it out of the bag of Fritos chips. It's very good. So lots of warm kind of comfort food being sold by different organizations in the community on this day when we have a parade. And the Halloween parade is kind of a big deal, so I feel like all the neighboring towns and villages, there are some places literally called villages, send their high school bands to the Halloween parade. They also send their middle school bands to the Halloween parade, and all the organizations have floats that they pull through the Halloween parade. They have trucks. They have like lots of dancers doing choreographed movements. Our band is there. Our, what do you call them? Like the flag bearers? No, the people who wave those flags at football games. What are they called? The flag twirlers. I don't know. They'll be there. A baton twirler if we happen to have one, although we often don't have one because we're not a big town. So everyone's doing choreographed routines in this parade to kind of advertise their businesses and support the community and all of that, and it's so fun. Then the best part probably is that there is a pumpkin decorating contest. So everyone decorates a pumpkin. I can only remember one pumpkin I decorated. I don't know why I can only remember one. I was maybe in first grade, and I had a wee little pumpkin like this big. I just slopped a bunch of paint all on it, like white and pink and blue, some yellow, and I glued feathers on it, and I said it was a bird. It kind of looked like a bird, but also I was in first grade. My intention was not an abstracted bird, but that is what happened. And I can remember seeing it displayed with all the other pumpkins at the pumpkin decoration display. So that's always fun to go see. You take your coffee and you walk around this lawn where everyone has set out their decorated pumpkins, and they're arranged or organized by age and category. So you walk around and look at all of them, and you take pictures of the ones you like. There are some pretty goofy ones. A common thing the other year was like to get a gourd with a round base and a really long neck. You know how some gourds have it like that like comes around to make it into a goose or a swan? Other people get more creative. I like the geese and swan pumpkins, to be fair, but other people do things that you haven't seen before. The kids, like the young age division, is probably the best because they're so ridiculous. There's always a few where their parents have helped them. Like I remember this kid in my grade, Joel, we used to say like his parents, his mom always did all his projects for him. But anyway, so there's always a few that look like the kids had some help, but the ones that the kids do by themselves are hilarious. If I go back next year, I'll try to take some pictures for you guys and you can see how silly some of these pumpkins are. So that's a really fun part of this Halloween festival. And there's also a craft fair in the high school where you can buy like homemade candles and little like cinnamon diffusers and more baked goods and just random stuff. Honestly, it's kind of like a little bit above like a thrift store vibe. Like it's a big mishmash, but it's fun to see. And then beyond that, there's a house walk. So like I said, there are some really beautiful houses downtown. Not all of them, but there's quite a few there's one that's like a really intricate gingerbread house and a few kind of Victorian houses. There's some that look older on the outside, but inside they are quite modern now. Anyway, you can pay a little bit of money. It's not much. It's like $5 or $10. And then you can, maybe 10 or 20. It's not a lot though, based on how long it entertains you. You walk around, you have a little map, and you walk around downtown visiting different houses with a friend. You can take coffee in, which is really nice, and you just kind of look around people's houses. And maybe it's just me being nosy, but I think it's so much fun, so much fun to see the way everyone has their house laid out, the way they've decorated it, what seems to be important to them, what their lifestyle seems to be like, stuff like that. And also just to see the insides of houses. I just like seeing, I'm just nosy. I will leave it at that. I'm nosy. I like to see the insides of people's houses. I watch my fair share of ASMR, like apartment tours, bedroom tours, for sure. And you might just think this is another level of nosy, which could be true. But I think it's extra fun when you feel like you know the person a little bit. So if someone lives in my hometown, I feel like I know something about them, or chances are I've heard a story about them or something from someone at some point. So to see the inside of their house, not in a judging way, but just a good vibes, like, oh, I'm so curious way, is really fun. The same way with like an apartment tour or a bedroom tour of a channel you really love is like that much more fun. So I love to do that a lot. Of course, I live somewhere else now, so I know less about the people. Not that I need to know a lot of info about them, but you know, people move eventually. A lot of people stay, but people move. So there are new families that I don't know, which is kind of exciting, just given that my town is so small. And the final thing I'll say about the Halloween festival is often the houses, people who have houses downtown, they have a prime festival spot, like to watch the parade from the strip of grass between the sidewalk and the street in front of their house, but also just to like walk around, to go to the craft fair, to go on the house walk, all of that, the coffee shop, they're like right there, prime location. So a few of them will kind of open up as open houses, which are just low-key, like low-burn, all-day parties, and it's kind of potluck style. Typically, my friends' parents have a house downtown, so yeah, you go by, everyone's like brought a plate of something to eat, like little, last time there were little pumpkin whoopie pies. Oh my gosh, so good. Who knows how many I had, but it was a fair amount. I think like 3 or 4. They were like this big. They were so good. So like pumpkin whoopie pies, cider, like spiked cider, hard cider, cocoa. You have like casserole dishes and like meat and cheese plates. You have like fruit salads and stuff, and then like a lot of cozy foods like mashed potato type stuff, macaroni, I don't know what else, but it's great. So I really liked spending time there. And again, just like more small talk, chit chat. I live elsewhere now, so it's just nice to catch up with people. And actually, at night during that kind of festival week, if you go out to the bars in town, there's got to be like, there are more now. There used to be like 2 bars, I feel. Now there are like 5 bars kind of commonly gone to. You run into a bunch of people you used to know, especially me. I'll run into a lot of people I went to high school with. It's kind of like that crowd is there, like high school alumni kind of thing, but not people, like people who have families don't really go out to the bars afterwards. They could, but it's just like this sweet spot of age where it's like got a high school reunion vibe. And I'm not able to go every year to the festival, so the few times I've been able to go, I've had a lot of fun just because more time has passed since I saw everyone, and it's just nice to see them and know what they're doing. It's a strange feeling being from a small town where I can't say that everyone necessarily likes me. I can't say that I necessarily really like everyone, but at the same time, yeah, kind of. Like, people do actually like me, and I do actually like them, and even the people, just everyone kind of like wants what's best and like wants good news for anyone from the town, is how I feel. I feel genuinely like I'm kind of rooting for everyone I knew in high school just because we're from a small place and we had a really small class. So again, even if we're not best friends or super in touch, or even if we weren't close when we were younger, it is kind of nice to catch up with people and just be like, oh, you're doing that now. Like, that's so cool. And like, I want the best for you. And, maybe you don't say those words to their face because it's a little over earnest, but I do actually feel that way. So yeah, I just feel very lucky to have had a positive experience growing up in a small town. I think you can have positive experiences growing up in a lot of different kinds of places, but this town just happened to be a good place for me and my family. So, okay, and then another thing I wanted to bring up are the corn mazes. I love corn mazes so much, so much, so much. Where I'm from, there's so much corn, and because of that, people really go all out with their corn mazes. Like, amazing designs, truly amazing. And some will have little raised platforms, like stairs, and then make a platform up top so you can see over the whole plot of land that the corn maze is on. And you'd think you'd be able to get an idea of where to go to get out, like how to exit, but you can't really, but it still gives you this idea of how big the design is. And something I love about the Midwest too is just how flat it is, so you can see for miles, it feels like, and the sky is so big and so open. And I genuinely feel like I can breathe easier there. So it's nice to go up the stairs on the platform and kind of look out over all the corn, which at this point has been harvested, and like it's just the dried stalks up that you're seeing. But it's really great, and they make such a nice little like crackly sound in the wind. I love it. So always get like a big group of friends to go to one of those together. And our favorite has been this haunted corn maze. So you go certain nights of the week to get the haunted experience. It's like a haunted house in a corn maze. Like someone will chase you with a chainsaw, and Someone else will be like a ghost popping out from the dark or whatever. It's very fun. But actually the scariest part of it is toward the end. They're always changing it up. Every year it's different. But toward the end, typically they have a guy dressed up as a farmer, and it's like a stereotypical farmer outfit. It's like, I don't think farmers I know wear it, but his shtick, instead of like the witches, the ghosts, the vampires, the guys with knives and chainsaws, his shtick is that he says like, curse you, like get, not curse you, but like get off my land, like you're trespassing, and like shakes his fist at you. But he sounds really angry. And because it's plausible, at least the first time I saw it, I genuinely just like jumped out of my own skin. I was like, sorry, sir. But it's part of the haunted aspect of the corn maze. And it's just like, when I was in high school, it was really fun. I didn't date a lot in high school, but it was a fun kind of date night, even if you didn't have a boyfriend or girlfriend. Like, it was just a thing where you would go out with your group of friends and there'd be some like light flirting, and it would be scary and fun, and you're outside and the wind is like this nice, or the air is this nice, crisp, dark, like fall air. Smells like dry corn husks and like dirt and like the fallen leaves, and bonfires and like candied apples they would sell and things like that. I'm just obsessed. Alright, and like the way your sweatshirt feels, or the way it smells even when it's cold outside and you can feel like the cold fabric against you. You're warm, but like your clothes are cold just a little bit. I love that so much. So there's that. And of course, trick-or-treating. That's so long ago for me, it's really hard to recall. I just remember going around. We would pick the neighborhood that was like the most densely populated. Still not that densely populated, but my neighborhood had probably 12 houses in it total. And the next neighborhood had like 6 houses or something. So we would drive just like 3 minutes to get to this other neighborhood across this really busy road that separated us from them. And they had just had a more like clusters and cul-de-sacs of houses grouped together that you could easily walk between without having to cross such a busy road like the one we had to cross to get there. So someone would drive us over there, like our parents, and then I think our parents would walk with us, or they'd kind of like hang back on the sidewalk and let us go up to the house by ourselves. And we would trick-or-treat that way. Like, you go to your piano teacher's house, you end up like going to like your teacher's house on accident, and like just random people you know from things, or like your soccer friend's mom's house, and you're like, oh. And I feel like my parents were always asking me like, oh, you like remember her, right? Like she's your soccer teammate's mom or something. But they wouldn't tell me who she was. They'd just be like, oh yeah, you remember them. And I'd be like, I don't remember them. All the parents look the same to me. I don't remember any of the parents. I can barely recall my soccer teammates' parents, even though I saw them like every other weekend. So you walk around and collect your candy. There's always a house or two that would give out whole bars of candy. Remember this? There was this one house that had whole bars of Three Musketeers and Snickers, and like we were obsessed with going there. I think one year when our parents weren't walking directly with us, we tried to go back to get like a second candy bar, which is funny. I'm sure they wouldn't have cared. I'm sure they bought whole candy bars because they liked giving them to kids and seeing the kids' reactions, right? Like their eyes just so big and excited about although they probably wouldn't have appreciated someone trying to double dip, but we didn't anyway. And you could use anything to trick or treat, like a pillowcase or a plastic pumpkin with a little black handle. But we also got through our school district, like all the elementary schools got these cardboard boxes. I don't know why we got them. There were no ads on them or anything. Every year we got these cardboard boxes. That makes it sound really weird. It wasn't that weird. They were like this wide. I don't know how tall they were, but they're like this wide. Maybe like a little taller than, probably like 50% taller than this. And they had handles up top and a design on the big square side that had like a black cat and a crescent moon or a pumpkin or something like that on the side. And you would walk around with these cardboard box you got at school, and almost every other kid would have one too. And they were big, so it wasn't like it was to limit our candy intake either. Like, I seriously do not know why we would get them every year, and every year it was a different design. And they seem to be like mass produced. Yeah, I truly don't understand. But we would often go around with those. I'm really bad at remembering my Halloween costumes, but once I was a witch many times. I don't think I was ever an animal. I was often a witch. One year when I was 10, I was like a biker chick. Like I had a black fringe, like black leather vest with fringe in the back. Because that year my dad had a motorcycle and I was like all about it. My friend was a pirate that year and I was a biker chick. And we were 10. A lot of witches in my past. One year I was Daria. In college I was the childlike empress from the Neverending Story. One year I was a mermaid kind of recently. I think this year I might, it's like chill times. So I think I might just do a like 80s jazzercise type thing because I already have the pieces. So I'll have to, if you want to ramble on some of my costumes, I think I can remember them, but I need to sit down and make a list because a lot of them really escape me. I remember being very young and dressing up for Halloween when we still lived very, very north, not in the Midwest, on the East Coast, like super north. And I remember dressing up in my witch's costume, like my witch costume, and it would already be so cold that we would have to wear our winter jackets over our costume, so you could barely see our costume because we would be wearing our like really thick, chunky winter coats over our costume. And that was the norm. Can't remember a single Halloween up there where it wasn't like that. Yeah, so trick or treat. And then of course you come home, you dump out all your candy. We had some good family friends with 2 kids, like, so the 4 of us, my sister, me, my sister's best friend, who I was close with too, and then her brother, who I was also close with, we would dump out all our candy on the ground, like at home, on the carpet, and we would sort it and then trade each other for things we liked. It was like 2 Musketeers for 1 Snickers, 3 Musketeers for 1 Snickers, or like 5 rolls of Smarties for, I don't know, like an Almond Joy maybe. I like Almond Joys actually, but you know what I didn't like was Tootsie Rolls. I feel like I would get a lot of Tootsie Rolls and I wasn't really into that. And Hershey Kisses are good, but they were never the thing I was trading for, like that was like, if a fun size Snickers bar was like a $2 bill, a Hershey's Kiss was like a nickel, you know, like that kind of thing. I wonder actually if online there's anything that has like a exchange rate chart or something for candy for trick-or-treaters. I feel like that should be a thing. Standardize it or whatever. And then two other things I'll just throw out there is that I also had a lot of murder mystery parties in my life, especially in high school. My friend did one for her birthday, and then every other birthday after that, someone would have a mystery party, and you get assigned a role and you dress up. I guess this isn't really particular to Halloween, but I remembered it just because we would dress up for our roles. And if there was anyone sort of vaguely dark vibed, like witchy, spooky, goth woman who's too private and lives in the shadows kind of thing, anything vaguely in that direction, it would go to me. And yeah, we had a lot of fun doing that. And the final thing I wanted to say is, of course, there were apple orchards too, lots of apple orchards. One in particular that my family feels very strongly about. And you just pick your own apples or just get barrels of them. We would get like 2 bushels and put them in our garage, and they would stay cold that way, and we would go through them. Probably within like a month or 2, they would be all gone. And they were so fresh and so good. And somehow my parents made us think an apple was a treat. So like at night after dinner, probably almost every night, my sister and I would go up to my mom or my dad and say, could I please have an apple? And they would say, yeah. And we would have an apple and be like, yes, score, after dinner snack, even though it was an apple. Yeah, I feel like the road's getting busier, so I'm going to wrap it up. But at the apple orchard too, you could pick pumpkins, you could pick berries certain times of year. There were apple cider donuts and fresh cider. That was so good. Fresh apple cider donuts were great too. And apple pie, you could put a piece of cheddar on top. I always wanted like one bite of it with the cheddar, but not a whole slice of pie with the cheddar. And there was a little petting zoo too with like goats and stuff there. And a tiny, tiny corn maze for kids. So, those are my memories from growing up in the Midwest in fall, which is a beautiful time of year. I hope you are doing super well. And I hope you sleep well tonight. And I will see you very, very